So, what are some of the difficulties or challenges do candidates who sit for AI-related job roles face? It could be in terms of communication skills or the knowledge they possess. So there could be various difficulties for different candidates. So what are some of the most common difficulties do people face?
I think it's common sense, logic. I think it's logic. As I said, people are in herd mentality. Everybody is doing data science, so I will also do data science. Why? Because in IT there is job cuts, data science there is job growth, there is good
Right.
money. Everybody wants to do that, and there is nothing wrong with it. But the problem is you need to be much more informed than just
Exactly.
like being just that small data point in a large ocean of like candidates. So
Exactly.
I mean, you need to add why you. I mean, like often I remember when I was in college, I often used to get asked, "Give me two good reasons why I should hire you." Right?
Yeah.
So you this question when this question comes, you should have answer for these two good reasons which no other candidates have, and then you should be in a position to question back the HR. Now you give me two good reasons why I should work for you. The day candidates get to that level, you know, it will be like breeze. And it is just that, like persistent effort. I mean, it is not like overnight you'll become a Ronaldo or a Messi, right? It takes
Absolutely.
ages. It
Right.
takes effort. So it has to be a planned journey. The candidates can set themselves a short goal, 6 month, 1 year goal, and
Right.
accordingly they proceed. Because there is no easy way to, become expert. The
Right.
very nature of expert is that you need to be exposed at a lot of situations, and you should be able to understand those problems and build intuition on top of that, so that your team or you yourself will be able to write code accordingly, or like tackle the problem basically.
Right. So basically, everything is a time-taking process.
Yeah.
So, you've been an adjunct faculty with Simply Learn, and you
Mhm.
organize a lot of boot camps, webinars, and workshops for students and
I
working
used to.
professionals
I
as well.
used to long back.
Yeah, you used to do that. So, how important are webinars and workshops in the field of AI to enhance one's knowledge?
Well, okay. So that's a good question, actually. So first of all, thank you for that. Uh, I believe that webinars or online courses basically they are just a medium, initial medium. As in, you can't solely depend on them.
Okay.
Webinars, 3 hour workshops. I mean, people are running after certificates. कि मैंने ये webinar attend किया. Nobody cares. Nobody is going to hire you for that. Right? So, what is now coming to your question? What is the purpose of these webinars? It is very important to understand. The purpose of the webinar, which I feel, is to make larger masses aware about a certain topic, especially in
Right.
the context of AI. If you come, largely the webinars could be about business applications or business technologies, algorithms, frameworks, right? So, what is the purpose here is to make you just aware that something like this exists. Why?
Right.
Because only if you know there is something called Apple, you will be able to think about designing apple pie or apple tart. If there is no such thing called Apple in your brain, you will never be able to conceive the thought of preparing apple pie from Apple.
Right.
Right? So the webinars are like that. Coming to courses. So courses are also, I generally don't prefer. I mean, like I have already, like if I have to admit, uh, I mean, I have self-taught myself everything that I have learned in the last 11 years that I have worked on this technology, everything. So and there were a lot of courses also that I did. There were a lot of individual subject specific videos also that I watched. When I was not able to understand, I used to go. And back then, I'm talking about before Coursera. The first video that Andrew Ng launched from intro to machine learning, which is a like go-to course for everybody today, right? Any data science aspirant. So back in 2010 or 11, I guess he started the same course on Stanford's website. So and I took that course back then. So from that time, like there were some topics which I was not able to comprehend, which is natural because anything that you are trying to learn for the first time, you won't be expert at it, right? You
Right.
will fail at it. You will face certain problems. So in that time, what I used to do was I used to look for topic specific videos,
Right.
right? If I don't understand support vector machine, so I need to look for Patrick Winston's MIT video or
Right.
OCW, right? Or is there something neural network related courses, so Geoffrey Hinton's courses, right? And it is, and now too things have become so simple, right? Everything is on platter, but still people are not able to take most value out of it. I'm not saying that nobody is taking value of it. Nobody, most of the people are not able to take the maximum value that they could have derived. इसके दो major कारण हैं. One is from the course content side, because as I said, technology is changing every day, so the course content gets obsolete very quickly. Second part, and the second part is the student themselves. Basically, it is not, the videos are just like auxiliary thing. It is the self-interest and self devotion to a particular problem, to a particular set of skills that you want to acquire. I think the difference is that part.
Right.
It is that which makes the difference. So because they're like online courses, 1,000 people take the same course, nothing changes, right? But some people are able to grasp better, some people are not able to grasp. Why? Because the way you look at the same video, the attention to detail, your ध्यान कितना है इस चीज के ऊपर, how focused are you, that defines basically this conundrum, basically this problem basically.
Right. Right.
I hope
So
I was able to answer your question.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're giving some really amazing answers, which are very useful for the audience actually. And natural language processing and speech recognition, these have been your major areas of interest in the recent past. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the key, what is the research that is happening in these two fields in both academia and industry? The current research that
Okay.
is happening.
Speech and NLP applications, right? You asked about that. Recent
Right.
applications. Okay.
Right.
Applications or research?
I'm talking about the latest research that is happening in these two fields.
Okay. So I think largely in the speech side or NLP side, one of the major challenges today is uh, multilinguality. I mean, having conversational system or a NLP based NLP engine which understands uh, like native languages without any use of machine translation, natively without loss of information, right? So that is one challenge. And on
Right.
top of that, the further challenge is the code mixed NLP or code mixed, speech system. What is code mixing? Code mixing is, like I have been doing throughout this video. While speaking, I speak suddenly a few phrases I throw in Hindi, right? So that is code mixing, because for it, and it's a very natural phenomena across the globe. Even in Spain, people mixing Spanish and English. In India, we are born in a
Right. Right.
multilingual environment where people at least speak 2 to 3 languages, like at least
Yeah.
mother tongue as well as English. That is like we have been taught throughout. So it is very common for us to use vocabularies from 2 different languages into one sentence and expect somebody to understand. So if we are to design systems which can understand really human languages, whether in text form or in like speech audio form, the machine or the engine needs to it needs to be able to process such user input where people are using mixed uh, phrases from different languages. So I think these two areas I think are very important. Um, then if you go further in the text speech synthesis side, text to speech side, so there you see text to speech is a problem where like you will be able to design speech synthesis system, somewhat you can say ki industry accepted standard kind of stuff. You'll be able to build very quickly. But the game changes when you try to bring the human like behaviors in speech synthesis, like the having a speech which is rich in prosody. And when I say prosody, I mean like I just did, like I emphasized on a particular phoneme or a syllable or a word, right, for a longer duration than on remaining other words. So having a system which is able to design human-like sound, which is rich in prosody. That is another challenge, and that is currently happening. And again,
Right.
translating that to from English or any other high resource languages to remaining 7,000 languages, where there are some languages where practically there is no resource at all.
Okay.
And if you talk about languages like Maghi, like Audhi, Braj, Bhasha, Kanaujiya, if you talk, and these are all different dialects of Hindi, by the way. Hindi is not
Right.
just one language. They are like group. At least if you want to count major dialects, or apparently they are dialects, but they are like more than 18. However, they don't have all of them don't have data, but there are people who speak those tongue. So if the enterprise or the industry has to bring those customer to mainstream, like mainstream, application, then uh, the the ease and the accessibility of the system based on their languages will be very important, because internet has already connected them. Now it is the ease and accessibility of that information, a particular consumer app or a business or a general government related information, news, anything. The accessibility is still a challenge. So that needs to be solved. And I think language and voice, the way we are progressing, maybe like 2 to 3 years time, everything will change. I mean, like we will live in a different world altogether where machines are talking, like that's dystopia probably for some people, but I think there is a lot of utopia element also in that we will be able to delegate a lot of our work to like these machines, which will be able to identify what users are saying and try to get work done for them.
Right. Right. Absolutely amazing. It sounds really fascinating. So AI is the future, AI is the electricity. So people give these kind of sentences and they have different sorts of perception like this, irrespective of whether they have any knowledge about AI or not. So can you just give us an insight about this kind of a perception people have got regarding AI, and what, according to
Mhm.
you, is that AI driven future?
From what I understand is like, uh, from your question, correct me if I understood it right. Um, so you're talking about like there are different people, industry, they say AI is the electricity or AI is the water or AI is the air, whatever they can call. They have freedom to call that. Okay. But essentially, what they intend to say is like, 21st century will be very different from what we had in the 20th century, and largely because AI.
Right.
And that because and why do we say that? Why is that analogy coming? Where is that coming from? Because just like electricity changed how we lived in that era before, from like post electricity and pre electricity era, if we have to define. So similarly, this is like a pre AI era and post AI era. Okay. So every problem, as I said in the very beginning also, right, AI is good at everything that humans do. Everything they are good, they are good at. However, the challenge here is that uh, you need to be very definite in your thought process and in your approach. What exactly do you want the machine to gain, that artificial intelligence part?
Right.
What is it that? And just like electricity changed the world, AI has changed the world. AI is changing the world. I mean, who thought like in manufacturing there will be some applications of AI? I mean, like 10 years ago, I couldn't think of. I mean, like, and I've been following AI for almost like 11 years now.
Right.
I never thought that manufacturing में भी कुछ चीजें हो सकती हैं automated. I mean, like, whatever little bit of things, like you understand a little bit कि अच्छा ये हो सकता है, ये हो सकता है. However, when it comes to like a larger scale impact on human lives, social, lives, then you begin to realize, wonder, okay, now this is not something very come and go thing, right? It's not a hype. It's real stuff. I mean, like
Right.
like AI is better able to detect, like a lot of medical diseases based on the scans, radiology scans,
Yeah.
basically, than like expert doctors. Not just one, a team of expert doctors. Like there are 20 doctors saying the same scan, but not able to identify. But machine can identify things better than them. Although
Right.
all their life these doctors have practiced and done the same thing day after day, one by one, one by one. But machine got better. because machine has the speed and the computation power,
Right.
right? Which human has limited quantity. God has given us less limited amount of memory and limited amount of computation power. Right?
Right.
So I think this is where this AI is the AI future. If you want to ask, if you go further, so backside to I explained why this AI is water,
Right.
why AI electricity, that thing has come. Now, what is
Right.
the AI future? I think it will be a very brave attempt if I try to even answer that question. But what I'll do is little bit. I'll try to just touch upon. I don't want to make a very declarative statement here, but I will
Right. Right.
try to just give you a intuition ki how you can think if you want to perceive ki what will be the AI of AI driven future world. So largely we'll be able all the monotonous job that you have will be automated sooner or later. So a lot of people say that jobs will be taken away. Yes, jobs will be taken away. That's true. But there will be a lot of new jobs that will be created. So just like before machines were designed, there was no mechanic,
Right.
right? But only when the machine happened, the mechanic happened, na? So, but those mechanics were earlier farmers. They were like doing some other small chores, right? But when machine came, they became mechanics. Similarly, in AI also, same kind of stuff will be there. However, everything around you would be, like it's very difficult. Again, I'm finding myself very speechless because it's very brave attempt. As I said, anything can happen. AI,
Right.
it's just that what is AI? I mean, like if you have to very, I have to simplify. I'll take 2 minutes and I'll simplify it. Try to understand how we perceive intelligence as a humans or animals, right? We are in an environment, right? And we have certain senses through which we are getting constantly input. Through eyes, we are constantly seeing. Through ears, we are constantly listening. Through nose, we are constantly smelling. Through skin, we are constantly touching. And through tongue, you are tasting. So these are five senses that you always get. And with these five senses, you are able to perceive this environment. Now, in this environment, you are interacting every moment. That means you are gaining experience. Right? There is some event happening again and again, and there is experience happening. Now, when there is experiment is repeated a multiple number of times, you begin to find pattern, right?
Right.
You begin to find pattern. Right? What is that pattern? That pattern forms the bias, right? Okay, out of 70% times this is what happens. So you normally think, okay, that is my bias. 70% time, I'll behave like that, right? That bias is a sort of learning, right? That bias is sort of learning. Sometimes how to interpret that bias, that is learning, right? How do you take decision based on that bias? That is where the intelligence part comes in, right? The decision making part.
Right.
So everything wherever we see, like decision making is involved, AI will come. That's like a fact. Maybe 5 years, maybe 3 years, maybe 15 years, but it is bound to happen. So I
Right.
think that is what I have to say on this statement. I won't be, I don't want to sound foolish 20 years later, somebody picking up this video and saying this guy said something like that. So I'll just reserve my comment on it.
Right. Right. I totally get it. And thank you so much, Mr. Vishwanath Jha. It was very wonderful interacting with you. And I really hope that the people who watch this interview gain some very valuable insights. And many people also gain the inspiration or get the inspiration to kickstart their careers as data scientists or, in the field of AI. And
Hmm.
it was wonderful interacting with you once again. Thank you so much.
Pleasure for. I mean, it was a great pleasure talking to you guys. Wonderful job. Keep it up. Whatever you are doing, just like what is not important, why is important. So you whatever you are doing today will change later, but why you are doing what you are doing, that will remain constant. So focus on that. Think on the like focus on the values and just keep on doing what you are doing. Express yourself in this universe. That's what I have the like. I have a word of advice for everyone, including you and Akhilesh and anybody who watches this video. Thank you for
Thank you.
having me here. It was pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.